Good morning, guys. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're coming back, or if you think you might have seen me before, you probably have. I have a mechanic channel on here on YouTube also. I just started this little sub page here just to focus strictly on ministry. So you might hear my dog walking around behind me because she loves her nails. But I wanted to show you, this is a men's Bible. Now, it just has different articles in here specific to fatherhood and being a man and the walk of your faith, things like that. This is an NIV, so New International Version. It is called the Every Man's Bible. Right here, okay. Now, I bought this years ago at a Christian bookstore when they were still around and had my name put on the front of it. So that's cool. But I love this one because it has little studies and breakdowns and timelines and maps, things that guys seem to like more. We like to see things better. But I just wanted to kind of introduce what I'm doing and why I'm doing. So I've been a mechanic for years, and I decided to go to college and get my degree in business admin. Ended up working in administration at ODOT for a while. Just kind of realized I didn't like office work. But I'm running my own business now, doing mechanic work for equipment and things like that. But I always throw a lot of Christian content into my channel, and I figured, you know what? I'm just going to start a channel that is strictly ministry. So I'm doing mechanic ministry. It's what they're called here. So all my plan is to not sit back and be boring and just read verses like you can do, but just try to go into some things here and there, maybe open some discussion about things we're going through, group prayer, kind of like an online men's group, if you want to call that. So what I was wanting to read through today is a little study I found that was pretty interesting. So this is a big one right here. If you're on any of these media platforms, I'm sure you see this everywhere, which is the danger of lust. So this is in Job. This is chapter 31, verse 1 through 12. So this is an individual little breakdown here. So it says, Job spends the first. And before we get into this, I know that as men, it seems like the algorithms out there, all they do is push us pornography. Basically, that's what they push. Whether YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, it doesn't matter. You can't scroll very far without getting something flashed across your face that just makes you feel uncomfortable. And it's kind of a shame. It really is. And it's like, it knows I'm a man, so it's going to try to push what works for other men. So what I do to try to train the algorithm, if I have stuff like that come across, I just will block some of the stuff I report, because I don't know how it makes it through filtering, but some of that stuff that gets through is pretty crude. But anyway, this is the danger of lust here. So in Job chapter 31, verse 1 through 12, this is the little note section I'm reading here. It says, these 12 verses of chapter 31, professing Job's innocence in the area of lust. He first mentions general desires. If my heart has been led by my eyes, verse 7. Then specifically talks about lust of a man for a woman. The concluding two verses of this passage boldly condemn lust, for that would have been wicked, a sin to be judged. It is a fire that burns to destruction. It would have uprooted my harvest. Some men try to defend their mental playgrounds to God. After all, they reason, who does it hurt if lustful thoughts remain just that? If I take no action, what is the harm in a little sexual fantasy now and again? But sexual lust is a deceptive power. It teases with delightful images that reveal none of the damage done to a relationship. When these thoughts are entertained, they draw the thinker deeper and deeper into the seductive realm of sin. And Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 28, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Harsh. But lust is not just a matter of the mind wandering in forbidden pastures. It invades the very center of our souls. Job's cries are indictment of a sin, that is so accepted today it is difficult to diagnose. We need to heed his warning and make sure our thoughts are innocent. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just read the actual verses here without the pretext there. So this is Job chapter 31, verse 1, going through 12. I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman. For what is our lot from God above, our heritage from the Almighty on high? Is it not ruin for the wicked, disaster for those who do wrong? Does he not see my ways and count my every step? If I have walked with falsehood, or my foot has hurried after deceit, let God weigh me in honest scales, and he will know that I am blameless. If my steps have turned from the path, if my heart has been led by my eyes, or if my hands have been defiled, then may others eat what I have sown, and may my crops be uprooted. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or if I have lurked at my neighbor's door, then may my wife grind another man's grain, and may another man sleep with her. For that would have been wicked, a sin to be judged. It is a fire that burns to destruction. It would have uprooted my harvest. So it's just what Job's talking about. I mean, this is, they use a lot of parables, which is that's the Bible. It's storytelling in ways that we understand it. When you start flirting with that spirit of lust, it will take you to a real dark place. And dark place coming from a spiritual point of view, because if you're hungry for that lust, you're feeding it, and you're aroused by it, and that's where you want to go, and that's just, you get stuck in that space, and you're endlessly scrolling and looking, and the more you look at this stuff, the more you see it, and that's just it's an easy distraction. It's very easy distraction, because no matter how much you want to deny it, the woman body is beautiful, and it's designed that way. It's designed to attract men, and vice versa. Women are attracted to men, and there is a reason for that, because God He wants us to come together. He wants us to grow closer to Him, and marriage was designed by God, so being part of that covenant through Him is all part of the master plan. But we have just grown into a society that is really comfortable with just whipping their way around things, and marriage doesn't mean what marriage used to. Like, there's some folks that consider their marriage an open marriage, and they swing with other people. That's not marriage. I don't even know what you would call that. I guess it's dating with style, I guess, but it just seems stupid. I don't know. I don't understand that. Why get married if you're going to do that? And if that just seems strange to me. But more so, it's all these, we call them thirst traps, that are across all these different platforms that you're always seeing. And the more you feed into it, the more you view those things, those algorithms will push those content types to you. And if you're struggling with a porn addiction, or if you're struggling with, your marriage or your relationship, and where you're feeling like you need to talk to other people besides your spouse or your loved one, that should be your warning sign right there. Because that it's wrong. Even if you think it's innocent, or if it starts off innocent, that lust will grow, because it's the forbidden fruit. You want it because you can't have it, but that makes it fun. That's like it's the new fun. Me and my wife will be married 10 years this year in October. 10 years. And no, it's not always been easy, and it's never going to be. Marriage is it's a beautiful thing, but you have to work for it. And it's easy to get comfortable in a relationship, because you think they're always going to be there, and then you neglect that person, and if they start having doubts or things like that, then they'll feed into lust, and they'll start to talk to other people and things like that. It's just that's why we need to cling to God and cling together, because when you're both involved in a relationship with God, you're following Him together, and that allows you to earn a deeper relationship with her, allows her to have a deeper relationship with you, and you can really talk through things. Because the biggest part of it is we get to this point in our minds to where we're tired of hearing the complaining, or we're tired of complaining to the other person. But it's not complaining, and I tell my wife this all the time, and we're both to blame. It's not just, I'm not putting this on her, but there's a tendency to withhold real thoughts, because we're just, we don't want to weigh the other person down, or we don't want to bring them down to our level. If we're having a bad day, we don't want to bring them down. But what we try to do is, number one, if there's something going on, don't push it. I've been bad for this. I've been very bad for this. I am the type of person who is like, hey, if there's a problem, I want to find it out now and get to the base of the problem so we can fix this, because I can't sleep without a clear conscience. And if there's something going on between us that's upsetting you, or if I've said something that hurt your feelings, I didn't realize it, I made a bad joke and you took it serious, or if she said something and I took it in a weird way, if you don't tell that person how you feel, it's never going to get any better. And then what happens is those repressed feelings start building scar tissue, and eventually that person can either grow numb to things, or they'll reach out to somebody else they want to talk to who's willing to listen. And of course, no matter who it is, a friend or a new buddy or whatever, yeah, their main goal is to get in your pants. So what are they going to do? Yeah, they're going to be very attentive. They're going to listen to everything you have to say and say the right words, because they're not really invested. They're not in it for the long haul. They're in it for the quick fix, even if they say they're not. And then what happens is, if those relationships, those side relationships build, then that leads to an affair, whether it's, now I'm talking like even just texting. You're cheating just by texting and getting into a relationship with somebody. Well, when that gets to a point, you go to so far, and then you start having the physical. Then you have the physical affair. And I don't have any, whole bunch of data to go off of for this, but I can't think of anybody in history truly been, aside from people that are just in a really broken, ungodly relationship, were ever happy that they had an affair. Most of them have regret, immediately. And without getting too nasty here, it's kind of like, with men especially, I'm going to say this, but the moment you have after the big event is over, we call it the moment of clarity in men, because while you're excited and things are happening, you're building up to a certain point, all logic is out the window, right? There's no reasoning or logic. It doesn't matter. You can make all kinds of bad decisions. You can say whatever you want to us. It doesn't matter. But the second it's all over, it's like reality smacks you hard in the face, big time. And we call it the clarity. But it didn't start there. That's where it ended. So you just need to, especially if you're a follower of Christ, just try to, it's impossible to keep yourself out of the world, because we're part of the world. We're the body of Christ. When you're in a situation where you're presented with all these things every day, different platforms, as much as you might like to look at it, or you think, well, that's good looking, or whatever, just start blocking those profiles, or just not viewing those things, or even, just pray about it. And, you're going to see movies, things are going to happen like that, but you really try your best to control those, because the more you restrict yourself, the more you starve that spirit of lust, the stronger your relationship is going to go with your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, so just keep that in mind, is that spirit of lust it's a very strong one. And I know men of this generation, it's nothing. It's one thing when you were younger to see a buddy of yours that had an older brother that had a Playboy magazine or something you could find and look at, but now you can find that stuff anywhere. It's thrown at you in commercials. It's thrown on you out there wherever you go. Ads and different pop-ups and shorts and TikToks and all this other stuff. It's everywhere. It's so easy to get to. The availability, the access is so easy. So if you got young kids, just think about it when you were a kid, right? How things were when you were a kid. Well, it's easier now. It's a couple clicks and you're there. It doesn't take much. But that's all I have for today. I know this is a long video, but I just want to do some different discussions like this here and there, and just pray for you guys to stay strong and just remain faithful, and God will get you through it. All right? God bless you guys.